If a buyer doesn't close and the seller turns around and sells for more money, will the buyer get their deposit back? So I think what we're talking about here is a default. So not a buyer walking away from a condition, but a buyer who didn't close and had no legal justification. And in that case, the answer is no. They likely won't get their deposit back. In Ontario, when a buyer defaults, the seller is entitled to keep the deposit. That's not because the contract says so, but that's what the common law has shown. And here's the part that surprises people. The seller's damages are not relevant for the forfeiture of deposit. So in other words, if a buyer agreed to pay, say, $900,000 for a property, puts a $50,000 deposit down, and then doesn't close, the seller can relist, sell it a month later for $950,000, make more money than they originally would have on the first deal. They can still keep the $50,000 deposit from that original agreement. That deposit was a guarantee to close. They didn't close, so that money becomes forfeited. And it goes further than that. If the seller did suffer real losses, in other words, had to resell the property for less money than the original agreement, they can come after the buyer for any damages that go beyond that deposit amount. So the deposit is essentially the floor of damages and not the ceiling.